Oi, Japan, amiga.
So what you just witnessed right there was the start of a viral video of allegedly an Italian streamer in the nation of Japan, and he's saying to a bunch of people, or referring to them as amiga, aka my friend, before he ends up descending into a controversy that honestly should make national news for how embarrassing it is, not just for the United States of America, but for Black America specifically, because even though he was saying amiga, he is clearly not an American. Shortly after this, a Black American ended up approaching him and decided to threaten him with violence because he believed that he was referring to him as the N-word, even though, again, that was clearly and obviously not what was happening. And as the video progresses, you start to cringe in secondhand embarrassment for this individual because it's so clear that that is not what occurred, and anybody with any kind of common sense would know that, yet the violent threats keep escalating. And again, this is an absolutely embarrassing moment for this individual, for the United States of America, and for Black Americans that have main character syndrome across this nation. And this is what I want to talk about today because I think it's absolutely crucial, and more crucial than that is the fact that this guy is not going to be seen as an Amy Cooper-like character, who, by the way, did nothing wrong to Christian Cooper, or any of the individuals that actually correctly called the police on Black Americans, or did so for non-racist reasons that became national controversies, even though, again, this guy is threatening a random Italian with violence due to the fact that he cannot handle hearing syllables that may sound like something that he might be offended by. But before we get into this, before we delve into the private lives of these individuals, I want to talk to you guys about protecting your privacy with today's sponsor, Incogni. If you use the internet, your privacy is currently in jeopardy, and the reason why is because there are thousands of websites that collect, package, and sell your private personal information, including your full name, your email address, your actual real-world address, your personal telephone number, and even your social security number. And the thing is, even though federal law requires these websites to take down your information if you request it, there's so many that it's virtually impossible for you to do so, or at least it was before today's sponsor, Incogni. What Incogni does is act on your behalf, requesting the removal of your private details from these websites, securing your privacy. And as you can see from my own personal Incogni page, we're damn near 1,000 websites that have had my personal information, and it would have taken me over 700 plus hours in order to do this on my own. But Incogni does it by you just filling out a quick form with your information. In addition to that, Incogni has this new feature called the custom removal feature that allows you to remove your information from specific websites that may not be covered by the general search. You just copy and paste the website link, drop it in, and it will be removed. And this is available with either of their unlimited plans, but as somebody who not only wants to protect myself and others, I have gone with the family unlimited, which is the one that I personally recommend. And the thing is, while you might think that this kind of work is extraordinarily expensive, if you go to incogni.com/AJW, you can get it for 60% off. So you can secure your privacy with basically little time and effort, get a great discount, and again, enjoy your internet surfing without worrying who's looking in on what you're doing over at incogni.com/AJW. That is incogni.com/AJW for 60% off.
Abbiamo preso il fallo, sia io che l'americano, a regolare. Palo. Questa era la 7, sì, era la 7. Mio fratello.
Bufalino 420 ha donato 1 euro.
Oh, grazie per l'euro.
Intanto buonasera,
Buonasera.
Luca. Sono entrato adesso, come sta andando oggi?
Oggi
Vedo che la
meglio.
connessione regge perlomeno. È un buon inizio.
So look, I don't speak Italian obviously, but I know what the term grazie means, and he is actually greeting this gentleman who's walking up to him like he's a fan, like he appreciates him, and he's happy to welcome him on the stream. Now obviously, his threat assessment radar is way off, because you could tell by the furrowed brow on this individual right here that he is clearly and obviously not happy. And in fact, he actually ends up saying that he doesn't want him to say my N-word with the A, because he's absolutely legitimately upset at the idea that this individual may have disrespected him. Now, again, to a certain extent, if you mishear something and you get upset, that's understandable. People tend to make mistakes. But obviously, if you're not in the United States of America and this guy is not remotely American, it would seem rather odd that for no reason, while on live stream, he would decide to pick you out and throw a racial epithet on you. But again, this is odd to normal people examining the situation, but not to somebody with main character syndrome. And by the way, there is this myth that is perpetuated across the internet.com that black people are always expected to be the better person. Black people are always expected to just take this kind of abuse, even though it is absolutely not abuse and nothing happened right here. And that myth needs to be debunked forthright, because the fact is, this guy in no way, shape, or form has been named and shamed to anywhere near the level of Amy Cooper, who, by the way, did nothing wrong except call the police on a man who happened to be black, who admittedly, according to his Facebook posts, was threatening to steal her dog in order to teach her a lesson about leeching her dog, thus making Christian Cooper the Karen in that particular case. And yeah, this is just something that apparently this guy was able to double down on social media, and it was completely excused because, again, he's not even expected to apologize, much less go through the public humiliation ritual that a white person justifiably calling the police on a black person does if there's a deceptive viral video attached to that 911 call. In fact, in San Francisco, they passed a law called the Karen Law to make it illegal for white people to call the police on black people. Now, they say maliciously, but that was already illegal, but it's a special ultra crime if you're an evil white racist that does it. And evil white racist is defined by there's an obvious misunderstanding, or sometimes not even a misunderstanding, that is played for attention for viral videos. But yeah, so this guy is going to come up and let us just watch, let us just observe what he's doing right here.
No, mi dissocio.
No, bro.
You my friend,
Don't be
you.
saying my
You my friend, man.
No, I ain't no fan.
No.
I ain't no fan, bro. I ain't no fan. This
No,
gonna be
wait,
my
wait. Wait.
That's not cool to say. Yeah, don't say my
So the guy assumes that he's a fan, or he says, "You're my friend," or something like that. Again, greeting him with friendliness, obviously completely unaware of what this guy is trying to do. And of course, he ends up threatening to steal the Italian guy's phone. He's saying this is about to be my stream because he's so offended by syllables that he may have heard, which absolutely were not said, by the way, that he's going to rob him in defense of his offense. It's ridiculous. It's absurd. And again, this is Black American main character syndrome, and this is something that we've seen represented multiple different times in recent weeks. A perfect example of this is the Tourette's incident that happened over in the UK, where you had UK black people understand that the man had Tourette's. It was not intentional at all whatsoever.
I'm one of the actors in I Swear. I play John Davidson's lawyer. And if you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. In the scene, I'm representing him because he's just got into trouble. And I'm representing him, but at the same time, he's hurling abuse at me. And it's very offensive words. Now, this is the condition, the disease of Tourette syndrome. John cannot control what he says. In fact, that's the whole point of why we're making this film. We've made this film, I Swear, is to educate people about Tourette's syndrome. And how can you say that he can't be there at the awards? This is a film about his life. This is a film about him. Absolutely, he has to be there. And absolutely, it's great that he was there. And I don't know if some of the actors there were told in advance about someone with Tourette's being there. Hopefully, they would have been told, therefore prepared for that kind of stuff that happened. Regardless, John has Tourette's. Enough said.
So end of discussion. However, Black Americans and of course their enablers decided to go out of their way to continuously attack the guy with Tourette's and demand that he apologize. So yeah, this is what happens when you feed idiocy over and over again. It's absolutely embarrassing. And yes, this man should be banned completely from the nation of Japan. He should be named and shamed and humiliated because this obviously is unacceptable behavior.
No.
Don't say my. Say I'm sorry.
But you is my friend.
No. Say I'm sorry on the
No,
chat.
your son.
No, you're sorry.
I'm sorry.
You're sorry,
sorry.
for saying my right?
No. This is what I don't like for band. This is not good. This.
Right. You say my nigga.
No,
Right.
no, mi dissocio, no.
So this black guy, who has since been identified as Malik Stanley,
Hi, Malik Stanley, number 3 for the Munich Ravens from Topeka, Kansas. It wouldn't be as fun if there was no fans in here, I promise.
Oh, you my friend, man.
No, I ain't no fan.
a semi-pro football player who plays in the EFL. I believe he plays for the Ravens, or at least played for the Ravens. I don't even know what that actually is. I assume it's the European Football League. Seems to be under the impression that this guy is somehow trying to play him or something of the sort, but his disconnection from the reality of the situation is so embarrassing because the Italian guy, through broken English, clearly thinks that Malik is trying to get him to say the N-word on stream, and he's trying to communicate to him that he would get banned for doing so. But Malik Stanley has decided that he's offended. He's decided that he's the big man football player, so he's going to attack him, threaten him with violence, because this is who he is to his core. And again, being in America has taught Malik Stanley black main character syndrome, and it's absolutely embarrassing. And by the way, this has as much to do with him as being an American as it does with him as being a black person, because in no way, shape, or form, had this been a British black person or even an African black person, would we have gotten this response. It is only the constant pandering by certain sections of our culture to these absurd feelings of people like Malik that actually endorses this behavior, because again, this guy wasn't fired from his job, he wasn't booted from his team, I don't even know if he was suspended for a couple of games, and he probably wouldn't have been suspended even if he was in the NFL. In fact, you'd have more people backing him, despite the fact that he is not only wrong, but embarrassingly so. And again, this idea that black people are always expected to be the bigger person is absurd, asinine, and ridiculous. And the often cited examples of black people being expected to be the better person are instances where black parishioners actually forgave Dylan Roof, or that incident with the female police officer who thought she was in her own apartment and she inadvertently killed a black person because she was actually in his apartment, and I believe that black person's little brother ended up forgiving her after she was convicted.
If you truly are sorry, I know I can speak for myself. I forgive you. And I know if you go to God and ask him, he will forgive you. And I don't think anyone could say it. Again, I'm speaking for myself, not even bad for my family. But I love you just like anyone else. And I'm not gonna say I hope you rot and die just like my brother did, but I personally want the best for you. And I wasn't gonna ever say this in front of my family or anyone, but I don't even want you to go to jail. I want the best for you. Because I know that's exactly what both of them would want you to do. And the best would be give your life to Christ.
Now, both of these examples are examples of the grace of the individuals involved, and personally, if I'm going to be 100% honest with you, I would not have forgiven in either position, especially the Dylan Roof one, although it is a bit more understandable with the inadvertent shooting that this younger brother felt that he needed to do that as a part of his healing process. But again, for me, I'm not in favor of forgiving people like Dylan Roof who intentionally murder you for racist reasons or murder people in your church congregation, much in the same way that if I were in Erica Kirk's position, I would not have forgiven Tyler Robinson, the man who murdered Charlie Kirk, but that doesn't mean I don't understand it, and that doesn't mean that I don't respect these people for trying to show more grace than I would, although again, this is not the expectation, but the black reaction to this, the amount of angry people who pretended that this extraordinary behavior that is completely unique and unexpected from black Americans was somehow the standard that they're to be held to, and this is now somehow a rebellion against it, being violent thugs on the streets in places like Japan at any slight hint of offense, or of course the incident that we saw with the Tourette's guy in the UK is just absurd, and it just goes to show you the ass backwards justifications that are often prominent in those cultures. This behavior is unacceptable. We would not accept it from a child, yet we are supposed to accept it from a black semi-pro professional athlete because because he decided he was offended. And by the way, it gets significantly worse.
What did you say over there?
You said I'm sorry, right?
Sorry.
You're sorry for saying my nigga, right?
I don't speak.
No,
Okay,
you do speak. You said my nigga.
But you-
I heard you say
No,
it.
no, no, mi
You got
dissocio.
5 seconds to apologize.
No,
I'm
no,
gonna
no.
slap you open hand.
No, okay.
You
Right.
said sorry?
Where you
Say
going?
sorry.
Say I'm sorry for
Sorry.
saying
Sorry.
So this guy's already committed assault when he put his hands on him. He's already threatened him multiple different times. And then he says, you have 5 seconds to apologize before I slap you open hand. Again, an absolute thug in every possible way, just trying to lay hands on him. And this behavior is supposed to be excused. And at this point in time, I will point out that the other black individual that is with Mr. Malik right here, absolutely the more sensible one of the group, because even though earlier on he might have heard it too, he's trying to de-escalate the situation because he realizes his friend is being an absolute idiot at this point in time. So you actually hear him saying, hey, he said sorry, because something in his processing software is going off, realizing that maybe the situation isn't exactly as interpreted. So he's trying to back his friend off from committing a crime. And again, that is to be regarded on as the bare minimum that you would expect. Obviously, we are not trying to hold black people to the standard of those wonderful people from the South Carolina church and whatnot, because that is above and beyond. But yeah, what we're expecting is this bare minimum. Don't assault people on the street because you think you heard a word.
Say,
Just say I'm sorry.
What you gonna do?
Sorry, I'm sorry.
He said he's sorry. He said he's sorry.
It's no problem.
He said he's
Hey,
sorry.
I ti
He
per queste parole no.
He said he's sorry.
Ooh, I should slap you
He said he's
anyway.
sorry.
boy.
He said he's sorry. Let's-
Ciao, ciao. Ma che cazzo vuole questo?
Again, I credit his friend or relative, whoever that was, for saying he said sorry for de-escalating the situation, but he's like, oh, I should slap you anyway. So what this obviously is the insecurity of Malik Stanley, the main character syndrome of Malik Stanley, a culture that enables people like Malik Stanley, and of course, the quick temper, quick to violence thuggery of Malik Stanley on full display, and of course, the desire to use his size and use the threat of violence in order to intimidate people into compliance. And again, no social consequences for this. He got made fun of on social media. Apparently this clip is from not too long ago, so that's when this all broke down, but he doubled down repeatedly, wasn't held accountable in any way, shape, or form. And is it too much to ask to say, hey, maybe if you're threatening a random person based on the color of their skin and your idiocy, your complete ineptitude to understand that other languages might have words that sound like words that make you cry in the shower at night, then maybe you should suffer the same consequences as the innocent woman who called 911 on Christian Cooper, who was threatening to kidnap her dog. Again, admittedly, according to his Facebook post, no, we don't have that standard, because innocent Beba Angel black Americans, we can't expect them to actually have any sense according to the left wing in the United States of America, and we have to allow their main character syndrome to run amok even in foreign countries. Well, no, I don't accept that. Absolutely not.
No, we're not doing that. That's embarrassing.
There's nothing more racist than pandering to this stupidity. There's nothing more racist than the soft bigotry of no expectations. And yes, I do expect more from black Americans in this situation, a little bit of situational awareness, because if this channel is the AJW channel, it is not Beyond the Trailer with Grace Randolph, who would probably tell this Italian guy that he's not allowed to stream near the Michael Jackson opening, much in the same way that she said the Tourette's movie shouldn't be allowed to open the weekend of the Michael Jackson movie.
I was also extremely concerned, okay, to see that I Swear has been set to open opposite the Michael Jackson movie. I hope that Sony Pictures Classics, who is releasing this movie, considers moving the film. I would hope, I think that I Swear wants to come from a place of positivity. And I think that it is getting very quickly co-opted by people who are not in that headspace. Mr. Davidson should be a figurehead for acceptance and understanding, not for, trying to tell people that doing things that are offensive is not a big deal.
That stream or episode or whatever from Grace Randolph should make her never be taken seriously till the end of time, because it was absolutely ridiculous in every possible way, as are the defenders of Malik Stanley here, who think he's just an innocent Baba Angel who has a divine right to attack random people in the nation of Japan, because oh my god, wouldn't it be so sad if he heard a word that he thought sounded like the N-word, even though again he probably uses it all the time, and that word may have come from somebody who was vaguely white, even though he didn't speak the same language as him. Again, embarrassing, absolutely humiliating. Name and shame this individual. He deserves to be disregarded from society until he actually comes out and does a regular apology. I don't need a groveling one like they demand from every white person. I don't need them to treat this guy as badly as black Americans treated a man with Tourette's, making him apologize multiple different times. All I need is a normal, sincere apology, and then I can move on, because you know what? We actually have standards over here in the United States of America, unlike this guy who's obviously been living with main character syndrome and the soft bigotry of no expectations. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. As per usual, if you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about how black main character syndrome needs to die. Till next time.